Former President Trump, California Governor Gavin Newsom, and New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. Liars or leaders or both? And are they more alike than different? And why does that matter? It's Rob Nelson Live. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Rob Nelson Live, our Wednesday show. We're doing our 3-night-a-week, half-hour formats and keeping it a little faster, a little more content throughout the week, and hopefully a lot more engagement from you guys. Everybody listening on Facebook, Reddit, YouTube, Instagram. Love all your comments and interactions. Okay, let's dive right into it because we only got 30 minutes. And I'm outside in the cold in Florida, and it's freezing here, just like everywhere else in America. Is it freezing where Donald Trump is? Is Donald Trump going to hell? Former President Donald Trump, current governors Andrew Cuomo and Governor Gavin Newsom, New York and Florida, respectively. I started this out saying, are they liars or leaders? And are maybe they both? Obviously, you probably know where I'm going with that. I think they are both. And I think they have a lot in common. More than you might realize. And I think that has a lot to do with America, American politics, and the divide between the left and the right, and why that matters. So I'll start with former President Trump. The guy the guy's not going away. I mean, so he's right. They impeached him twice. They failed to convict him twice. No shocker on that, right? But then the Republican Party leadership just dove on top of him. I mean, Mitch McConnell, not everyone, but a lot of prominent Republicans threw him under the bus. Former UN ambassador and Governor Nikki Haley, all sort of saying Trump not only instigated the riots, but what he did was horrible the whole time, led us down a bad path. And if you watched CNN over and over again or other news outlets, it was very clear. People were coming on saying Trump has lost his power. His power is waning. He's no longer going to be a viable force in the Republican Party. He's no longer the leader of the Republican Party. Trump is basically done. He's going to go off and do what he does. That's fine. We're going to form a new party. And I said this, in the last show. I really believe it's elites against the populace, and it's going to be a common theme we're going to come back to. But here's sort of the proof of all that, because they may have said Donald Trump is gone and done, and trust me, most news outlets are like, no, please don't go, please don't go. We're gonna have to watch Sleepy Joe the whole time, and Sleepy Joe is not very much fun to watch. Just FYI, we'll talk about this on Friday, but because I'm going to do a whole thing on Biden and politics with Biden. But if you watched Biden's town hall. If you watch that town hall, I mean, listen, I'm a TV guy. I know the first thing about television. Roger Ailes taught me this at Fox News. You got to be watchable. I remember before he hired me, he literally watched my video that I'd created for my show thing, and he turned the volume off. And I'm like, what do you turn me up, man? I mean, you're missing the good stuff. And he was like, shh. He's like, before I hire anybody, I want to watch them without sound to see if they're watchable. Joe Biden literally puts you to sleep. I mean, he looks like he's 100 years old. Now, again, I'm going to defend some of what Biden's trying to do because I think he's actually trying to be a real centrist. But watching him in that town hall, literally, I'm gonna fall asleep. I mean, forget it. When you listen to him, that's a whole other thing. Kind of rambles around and and then makes a couple points here and there. And CNN lavish praise on him, how he was so watchable and so engaging with the audience. I'm like, seriously, literally fall asleep. I mean, you can hate Donald Trump, but that guy was watchable. So media wishes Trump would stay around. Republican leadership wants him gone. But here's the reality. Most Republican voters, they're far from done with Donald Trump. I mean, they are in 100%. They like Donald Trump even more now that he's been impeached than they did before. We got some graphics here. Literally, I mean, the numbers, they did a poll. The numbers are stunning. Crafty, can we pop those graphics up? No, right before that. Well, that's fine. Yeah, so Republicans love Trump even more now that he's been impeached twice. So a majority of Republican voters say they would vote for Trump again in 2024. They'd vote for him again. So let's look into this a little. So let's look at some of the numbers. So so they did a poll, and he's the choice. So it's a Political Morning Consult poll. So that's a legit poll. If you follow polling, Political Morning Consult's totally, it's not like Fox News' poll. Not that all of them don't, or CNN. They're all somewhat legit, but Political Morning Consult's totally legit, and it's not particularly partisan one way or the other. 54% say they vote for Trump. That's up 42% from January when he was like being blasted. Thanks, Crafty. That's up from 42%, right? When he was being impeached. Now you might go 54%. Well, that's not that many. That's comparatively, that's a poll over who you'd vote for. So the next highest number is former Vice President Mike Pence, who gets 12. And then it starts dropping. Like Nikki Haley, Ted Cruz are down in the single digits, So Trump's 54%, that's high. It's 4 years out from an election. I mean, I'm sorry. The guy's not gone. And then on top of it, 75% of voters said they want to see Trump play a prominent role in the GOP moving forward. Now, that's the one that really kills me because it's like, it makes me laugh. Kills me is the wrong word. It is the Republican leadership is like, we're done with him. We're getting him out of here. We're finished with him. He's no longer representing us. And 75% of voters are like, we want him to be a prominent role in the party. Whether he runs or not, we want him up there. This divide is shattering. But to what Trump is. Okay, Tyler, no. Politics should not be boring. That's an old myth. There's no reason politics has to be boring. And again, I'm not saying just because someone's entertaining, that's good. But this is something I've thought a lot about over a long period of time. So I'm going to take a second to address it. When politics is boring, people disconnect. And that's always been true. And it's partly what allowed for the last 25 years to create this power structure where the elites controlled everything and the average person was pretty out of touch with it all. And if you go back in time to the comment Tyler made about it should be boring, politics wasn't boring in the old days. I mean, way back in the old days, like, it was very community oriented. So, the Lincoln Douglas debates, like hundreds of people would come and gather and they have basically like tailgating and for the debates. And now if you listen to the debates, they seem kind of boring, but that's just how they spoke back then. But literally people would come sit for hours and drink and engage and sometimes get in fights. And, politics doesn't have to be boring. And when it's boring, we disconnect. Now, that doesn't mean it should be entertainment like reality TV. And I understand someone who thinks Trump just made it like, a reality show. But the truth of the matter is that if it's not, we live in a world where everything is visual, everything is all about engagement. And if it's all about being engaged. And if we're not engaged, we don't pay attention. So if you don't make it visually compelling, and that's not a new thing, by the way, right? I mean, Nixon lost to Kennedy largely because in the first televised debates, Nixon looked horrible and Kennedy looked shiny and charismatic and Nixon was sweating. Great story behind that, but not time for that now. But it was Kennedy was the first telegenic, charismatic president. And there's nothing wrong with that. More than ever, we're in a visual age. We watch everything. You guys are watching me. We're on Facebook. We're on, Instagram. People are watching everything on Netflix. Like, we're visual and we Zoom everything. We FaceTime everything. So to expect our politicians to be boring, that doesn't work. If you're a public figure, you need to be able to engage. And the best example of that to me is AOC. She's so charismatic. She's so good when she's on a camera. It's why she has 20 million followers. And it's why she may be able to redefine the progressive movement in America. And, and 5, 6, 7, 8 years from now, 8 probably, she's going to run for president. Okay. So I'm going to move on from Trump because the simple answer with Trump is we all know Trump lied. I think Trump probably lied on a daily basis. Well, monkey arms, I don't agree. I think that's an oversimplification. I don't think they're enemies of democracy because they like Trump. I think that's conflating two things. I think there are people who do support Trump who are enemies of democracy, and there are radical elements of that. I think many people like Donald Trump because he challenged the status quo. And they put up with a lot of stuff he did. And although what happened at the end may have soured some, a lot of people still liked what that was about. And I've argued, well, did he really want that, or was that just the role he was playing? But either way, he triggered a populist movement, which I think helped trigger a progressive populist movement. I've always said AOC got elected because of Donald Trump. So there's a good thing there. But I hate the notion, Monkey Arms, that you would dismiss all people who support Donald Trump as enemies of democracy. Your opinion allowed it. Trump literally is a liar. We know that. Lied just about everything. Pompous, made everything about him, thin-skinned, went after his enemies, battled constantly, trampled on the press, trampled on anyone who said anything he didn't like. So we don't really need to spend much time on talking about what Trump was. But was Trump a leader? And to Monkey Arm's point, disagreeing with it, but the fact that you can say that if you follow Donald Trump, you hate democracy, shows you how much of a leader Trump was, that he was able to generate. And again, Biden won the election and Biden had more votes, but Trump got more votes than any sitting president's ever gotten. No, Biden got more. That's why Biden's president. But to suggest that he wasn't a leader, you can hate him, but he was a powerful leader. He was an effective leader. He was a liar and a leader. Now, does that mean to be a good leader, you have to be a liar? No. But let's talk. No. But I think almost all our leaders are liars, and that's my point that I'm going to get to. And there's a reason and a problem in that. So let's look at Andrew Cuomo, Governor Andrew Cuomo. Governor Cuomo got praised so much. And listen, full disclosure, I've said before, I knew Andrew Cuomo back in the day when he was Health and Human Service Secretary for Clinton. And I even had some personal encounters with Andrew Cuomo. And Andrew Cuomo's not a particularly nice guy. But that, again, not a prerequisite for being a good leader. But sharing some of Donald Trump's qualities, he's very arrogant. He's very dismissive. He lacks empathy. They both lack empathy like there's no tomorrow. And they're incredibly ruthless people. I mean, Cuomo's probably more ruthless than Trump. Trump's a little bumbling, but Trump's ruthlessness is underneath. Like and Cuomo's smarter than Trump, no question about it. And Cuomo knows politics. His father was a very well-respected liberal Democratic governor of New York, highly respected by both sides, a real model of what a politician could be. And Cuomo got enormous praise going into the pandemic, right? How he dealt with it. And I was one of those people who praised him. I said, Governor Cuomo is showing he's acting like a leader. There's no question he was leading. There's absolutely no question. And I contrasted it to Trump because I thought Trump's handling of COVID was the most bobbling mess, even though I give him a pass in the sense that I don't think any president would have known quite what to do. And I think it's unfair to have blamed every step and misstep, they didn't close this fast enough. They did that too soon, when everyone was trying to figure it out. And even the health officials and Anthony Fauci and all those guys were trying to figure it out and would change their minds week to week. But that said, let me to stop myself to respond. Everyone thinks they're a constitutional scholar for a man who's proud that he doesn't read. I'm not sure what that proud that he doesn't read part is. Oh, I must have missed a comment. I don't claim to be a constitutional scholar, although I did study, go to Stanford Law School and study with some of the best constitutional scholars in the world today. And, that counts for something. At least I learned from some good people. And I know a bit about it. But again, we all can know a bit about a lot of things. And I'm not claiming to be an expert. A lot of it for me is experience. And personal experience weighs in as well. So to Cuomo, I said Cuomo was demonstrating leadership, and I think he was. And it can't have been easy to try to figure out how to handle the pandemic in New York, the mess that was going on, the way they were being blitzed. I have a friend who was a ER doctor, a pediatric ER doctor in Manhattan. They cleared out all the pediatric beds for kids and made them for adults for COVID. I mean, it was a horribly brutal time, and to be governor of that state. But that said, Cuomo did a lot of what Trump does. It just got covered up and looked past. And that finally started to blow up when the nursing home scandal erupted. And yes, the nursing home scandal. So let's talk about the nurse. I don't know how much you guys know about Trump. Yeah. Trump doesn't know much about the Constitution at all. I'll agree with you there. And I don't think Trump reads. So Governor Cuomo. Let's talk about Governor Cuomo and what happened with the nursing scandals. So this is from The Guardian. I picked that because The Guardian's a very left-leaning publication. And, if you were to see Fox News, they're going to be like, Cuomo's bad. But, Cuomo at bay as COVID nursing home scandal taints reputation. That's coming from a prominent left publication. So quick backstory, because I think a lot of people probably don't know what actually happened. They've just heard pieces of the nursing home scandal. So I'm going to give you the 90-second summary, if I can, of what happened. On March 25th, the governor of New York issued an order to move patients who were COVID sick patients in hospitals into nursing homes, which, as we all know, was a terrible idea. But again, in the moment, I don't know. Everybody gets in my book, a pass on bad decisions around the pandemic, but it seems like a pretty bad idea. But nonetheless, they moved them into nursing homes, and it was horrible. People died like crazy. And there was a lot of criticism about that, whether it was the right thing to do, the wrong thing to do. Cuomo blamed Trump, saying, well, Trump's federal directives told us to do that, to which my response would be, one, most states didn't do that, so they didn't read the directive that way. And two, since when are you taking orders from Donald Trump? Like, Donald Trump said, do it, so you do it? To me, common sense would be like, don't move a bunch of sick old people out of hospitals into nursing homes. You're going to kill them and anybody around them. Like, it's a bad thing to do. The state hospital board wanted it done. The New York State hospital lobby wanted it done. And Cuomo and the lobby are tight, the hospital lobby. So that might have been part of it. Politics plays a part in everything. But this is where it got bad. So that happened, done, move on, except, whatever it was, a month ago, the Attorney General of New York, Letitia James, issued a pretty scathing report, and she's a Democrat, saying that the Cuomo administration completely lied about the number of nursing home deaths. Nursing home deaths account for about a third of all deaths in New York and around the country, and that they lied about the numbers. They misrepresented, underreported it. It sort of got a teeny bit of buzz, mostly from more right of center news outlets, and then this blew up. The one of the top aides to the governor, Melissa DeRosa, I guess she's called his secretary, I think is the word, but she's not like a secretary. She's like super, right up there. In a phone call that got leaked, 2 Democratic lawmakers admitted that they lied about the numbers. They lied to the state legislature about the numbers. They misrepresented them. They intentionally misrepresented them. And the argument she made was, because we were worried about the federal government and the Department of Justice investigating us, if we basically gave them the right numbers, we gave them the wrong. We didn't want to give you different numbers. We didn't want to give you the right numbers. So in other words, you were worried about being investigated for doing something wrong, which, by the way, the investigation never happened. But therefore, you lied to your own state legislature after their repeated requests for information on it and completely underreported the number of COVID deaths. While at the same time, Cuomo's getting lauded with praise for being the world's best, governor. I mean, he got an Emmy, which again made me want to throw up, not because he wasn't doing a good job. I praised him for doing it, but it was literally like the Hollywood fawning on him. And he wrote a book and the whole deal. And then, as if that's not enough, he lies that they lied. So that's where it gets really bad. And that's when the backlash started. So the New York Post, of course, and other outlets start hitting him up saying, Governor Cuomo, apologize. Stop lying, apologize. But and that you'd expect. The New York Post is on the right. But then it started coming from Democrats. So Jessica Ramos, a state senator from New York, blasted him in tweets. Trash. No one believes you. That is a elected New York State senator, Democrat senator. Powerful Democratic senator. And she goes further and she says, at no point did the administration notify the legislature about a DOJ investigation. People died and Cuomo lied, and then he had the gall to write a book. Okay, my point. This started spreading, going both directions. And yeah.
Just FYI, we just got shadow banned by Facebook when I was doing the sharing. Take a look.
It happens. Tyler will have a comment, but we're still streaming on Facebook.
Yeah, we're still streaming. I just can't share it into the groups. Yep.
Okay, well, that's the way it is. We'll have fewer views today, but the people who are here, I love it. So again, now I know some of you are going to be like, well, why are you picking on Cuomo? I'll get to why I'm picking on him. And that's why I want to be clear. I was a big supporter of him. I really defended him. But this nursing home thing gets bad. And he came out and he didn't apologize. He didn't apologize. He had the kind of the nerve to say, our We created a void in our information, created miscommunication. It was like the most convoluted thing. It's like, what? Like, you lied. You lied about what happened, and you lied because it made you look bad to tell the truth. And he didn't apologize. And she didn't, his top aide, when she was talking to Democratic lawmakers, apologized to them for giving him a politically difficult situation. Nobody apologized to the 15,000 families who lost people because of that stupid decision. Taking accountability. I made a mistake. I made a bad call. People died from it. Okay, you get a pass in my book. I don't want you canceled. But lying, first lying about it, and then lying about it. No, we didn't do it. And we didn't do it because we didn't want to get in trouble. And we didn't actually lie at all. I mean, it's just ugly. And then he blamed Trump for the whole thing. So again, to me, Governor Cuomo and Donald Trump aren't that different. Now, you can argue different in terms of their policies, yes, but personalities, no. Powerful men who lie when it's in their best interest, who shut people down when they disagree, who yell at media people who ask them questions they don't like, who privately go off on people. I mean, Andrew Cuomo has the worst temper in the world. And why that bothers me is not because that's a shock to me. That is who politicians are. But it goes a little step further, because what then just came out is that Cuomo threatened another Democratic lawmaker on the phone. And he a New York assemblyman, and he went after him. I don't think I have I think I just have the headline of it. I don't think I actually have what he said, but basically the assemblyman said that the governor called him up and said, "I'll destroy you. I will literally destroy you. That'll be it. I'll wipe you out." Threatened him all kinds of ways from Sunday. Now, of course, they deny he did it. But the guy's wife was overhearing the conversation, and he basically said, "I'll destroy you if you don't get behind me and lie and back me up on this." Not a shocker. Not a shocker that it's not a shock. Thanks, Crafty. It's put it up 5 minutes late and keep it over my face. It's not a shocker. That's all right. We don't need that one. It's not a shocker that he threatened him. My point is, that's what they do. Why are we shocked and surprised? Donald Trump's behavior was so egregious, and the media put a spotlight on it 24/7. The combination was lethal. But Governor Cuomo's behavior is just as toxic. It's just rarely seen. And he may be a better legislator. He may be a better policymaker, but his behavior is just as toxic. We just don't see it all the time. One, because they try to hide it. Two, because the media doesn't put a spotlight on it. Even this took them a long time to spotlight, a very long time. And they've still hesitated. Now it's kind of hard not to, because you have Democratic lawmakers coming out going, "You lied to us. You lied about lying to us. You hid the number of deaths, and you went out and got an Emmy and wrote a book and said how great you were. And all kinds of people were dying." Again, own up to it, own the mistake, say, "I did it. It's costly. I am sorry." But you criticize Trump for doing the very same thing. They're not that different. And their lies are equally dangerous to us when we believe them and believe that they're not doing it. I mean, it's as if we've gotten this thing where we give people a pass, like, it's like when someone apologizes after being canceled. "That's not who I am." It's exactly who you are. Like, why? It's exactly who Governor Cuomo is. But this is where it bothers me. And this is the interface between the media and politics. It's scary when I say I don't like that we're driven into these two narratives, right and left, and the media supports the narrative they want. So Chris Cuomo, the governor's brother, would frequently have him on CNN and never ask him tough questions. I want to show you a little clip of what happened. This is after the nursing home thing, after the nursing home deaths, before the thing came out that they lied about it. So this is already after he got blasted for putting sick people from hospitals into nursing homes to begin with. Not mentioned in this short clip, and it's edited way down. Check this out.
"I'm wowed by what you did, and more importantly, I'm wowed by how you did it. This was very hard. I know it's not over, but obviously I love you as a brother. Obviously I'll never be objective. Obviously I think you're the best politician in the country. But I hope you feel good about what you did for your people, because I know they appreciate it. Nothing. What I did here was right. And whatever, was a political no-win. As you said from day one, you have people on both sides, and you couldn't make anybody happy. So you just do what's right. I did what was right. I'm comfortable with what I did. I think the facts bear it out. I think the numbers bear it out. I think we saved tens of thousands of lives.
Okay. there's truth in what he's saying, but there's also a massive lie, because at this point in time, as he's doing that, he knows full well that they lied about the nursing home deaths, thousands of deaths underreported. And he knows he put those people in that to begin with and sort of didn't take responsibility for that. So on the one hand, we saved thousands of lives. You also cost thousands of lives. That's a third of the deaths were in nursing homes. It's not an insignificant number. But again, I don't mind that he's going to try to shield himself. I mind that the press on one side, and it's true for Donald Trump on the other side. A lot of you complained for a long time about how Donald Trump kept getting a Fox News pass. That the press gives you a pass. Instead of being critical, instead of challenging you, instead of diving in. Monkey Arms. The right does a lot of your Monkey Arms. I think you're in an especially anti-right mood today. The right, there is actual plenty of investigative reporting from the right, and there's a lot of good investigative reporting, and there's some good investigative reporting from both sides. But overall, the bulk of the media landscape is more left of center, and overall, in general, investigative reporting's been tossed out the window. So I'm not going to say you're wrong to challenge the right. I'm fine with that. The right. You know, the left gave Trump a never-ending barrage of negative press. So he got all the negative press he could ever get. Everything he did or said was dug into, torn apart, ripped to shreds. The same standard should be applied to the other side, is all I'm saying. I'm not defending what Donald Trump did or what people on the right who excuse. I've had people, I've said before, can you not admit all the things Donald Trump's done wrong? I've heard people say, Monkey Arms, no, he didn't. And I'm like, stop defending the guy for everything. But the most of the media did challenge him. And my problem when the media doesn't challenge other leaders is it just creates this hole. The media's job is to hold people accountable, period. And the failure to hold Andrew Cuomo accountable, it's not like it's okay because he's a Democrat or because he's better than Trump or he did better things. That's an egregious. I mean, look, the New York State he's not going to get recalled. Well, first of all, you can't. There's no recall thing in New York. But let's move quickly to Gavin Newsom, because Gavin Newsom I don't think is a bad guy in that sense. Gavin Newsom's but like Trump and like Cuomo, Gavin Newsom's a determined to get ahead. He's a career politician. And interestingly enough, right now there's a recall effort, as some of you probably know, a massive effort to recall Governor Newsom, and it's actually gaining traction, which is probably terrifying Governor Newsom, because the recall is now hitting its milestone of 1.5 million signatures. And there's a whole formula for it. It has to be X percent. I think it's 12% of what the vote was during the time. And they'll get more signatures because they'll signature verify. And when it's all said and done, they're going to have enough signatures by mid-March to put a recall on the ballot. And that's automatic. Once that happens, it's automatic. The Attorney General has to declare an election date. I think it's within 6 months. It has to set the date for some point in the future 6 months. And Newsom will face a recall. And it won't be like a normal election. There'll be challenges from Democrats. There'll be tons of money poured into it. But the point is that why Gavin Newsom's facing a recall has to do with how he's handled managing his state, how he handled the lockdowns. But Gavin Newsom, in some ways like Trump, they're both, Cuomo and Trump are a lot alike in one way. Newsom, it's funny. Newsom wasn't always what he is. Newsom used to be a little more conservative. He was kind of a centrist. I mean, it's funny. When he was running for mayor of San Francisco, he was for charter schools. He wanted higher bail limits on people who were accused of drug crimes, not even convicted. He had a number of, he was against mandatory health insurance. Companies with 20 or more people should have to have health insurance provided by their company. And he thought he wasn't 100% against it, but he was worried and sort of resisted it because he thought it would be an economic disadvantage, economic impact. And he's been accused of shifting a lot, like shifting to the political winds of the progressives just to get them, which might explain to you how he was married to Kimberly Guilfoyle. I don't know if I said her name right, who's now married to Donald Trump Jr., right? Like Newsom, she was the first lady of San Francisco. His politics has shifted too. But what Newsom did was lie as well. And Newsom lied to get for political cover. He was, instead of being honest about this whole thing around the pandemic. And again, I give him credit. He's facing the same difficult choices they were facing all around. Like, what do we do? What do we not do? hard choices. My criticism is that, again, we tended to pick on one set of choices, not the others. I think it was fair to pick on Donald Trump's response to the pandemic. I don't think he did a great job at all. In some ways, terrible. And as it went on, even more terrible, because he was determined to be like, don't hurt my economy. And my economy, it was his economy to start with. But Gavin Newsom went the other way and locked an entire state down and did it callously and did it not, in a way that didn't make sense, wasn't consistent, and then kind of screwed himself when the whole French Laundry thing happened. And that's when the turn of the tide, he could take that whole thing back. If you remember the French Laundry, he went and had dinner at the expensive French Laundry restaurant and basically got caught breaking all his social distancing guidelines. No one was separated. No one had masks on. They were indoors. There was lobbyists. They were partying. And at that point, people were like, we are dying here, guys. We are dying in this state. Our businesses are suffocating. And you won't admit that what you're doing isn't working. Again, just double down on it until all of a sudden, just like that, a couple weeks ago, he just started opening the economy up. And now he's saying he's going to see most of California is going to open up because the numbers are dropping. But when he started opening up, the numbers hadn't changed one bit. I pointed this out before. They were actually getting worse. The hospital capacity had to be at least 80, had to have at least 15% available. They were down to 8 when he opened up. So, it was getting worse, not better. Why did he suddenly open up? Because he was about to get recalled. Because he was the recall thing. They wanted to stave off the recall as much as they could. Pure politics. Again, I'm not criticizing. There's a lot I'll criticize Newsom for. I've lived in California for a long time. It's literally, the state is a mismanaged mess, and Democrats are fed up with it too. But again, wasn't honest, wasn't transparent. They all say, I'll be honest, I'll be transparent. And then they're hypocritical. They're not transparent. They do spin. And depending on the side of the fence you're on, you support them or you don't. So if you're on Democrat, you support, his attraction's fading there a little bit, but you'll be like, no, Newsom did the right thing. If you're a Republican, Trump did the right thing. And the divide just keeps splintering us. And I think a big part of it is the media is responsible for it. And I'm going to have to speed up because we're trying to keep to our time thing. But I just want to show you one little thing that happened at the end of this. It's just happened like a week ago. A place called Bravery Brewery. Bravery Brewery got closed down by a health inspector. They're a local brewery. They got closed down in California. Got closed down by a health inspector on Super Bowl Sunday for supposedly not meeting a requirement. And the health inspector comes in, closes them down, and there's a surveillance video. And this is what happens. Watch. You're just going to see 20 seconds of it. This is right after she's closed them down. She's shut them down. She's standing in the empty brewery space. She's just told them they cannot, on one of the busiest days, it's tough enough. They've geared up for the Super Bowl. She starts dancing. This is no lie. That is the health inspector moments after ordering them to close. And the crazy part of it is, guys, they weren't even right to close them. Turns out they were wrong. They had complied. But my point is, it's that kind of insensitivity that runs through a lot of bureaucracy, governance, people who are inspectors. You saw the LA health inspector going out, the head of the board of supervisors going out and eating right after she was closing down all the restaurants. And it's the hypocrisy. So where do I take this are they all liars? Are they all leaders? You can be a liar and a leader. Maybe to some extent you have to be a liar when you're a leader. But we live in an age where we need transparency more than ever from both sides. And the divide we're seeing, the monkey arms saying, if you support the Republic, if you support Trump, you hate democracy. I get where you're coming from, monkey arms. I understand it, but the reality is that divide is only partly us. And two things I want to close with on this tie back to the media. Because the media, in not being objective and not being hard on everyone, evenly hard, be just as hard on Cuomo, be just as hard on Newsom, even if you're the Democratic or left-leaning media, be just as hard on Biden. And two things. One, they were so hard on Trump that I believe to some extent they created the monster of Trump. Trump was berated from day one about every single thing he said or did by 90% of the media. 98% of media coverage was negative, which only made an egomaniac determined to be right more crazy. You guys actually made Trump more Trump. You made him more crazy than he was. And I believe the media helped push him to be kind of turn into somewhat of what you think of the monster he became. But if the media does it right, if they truly hold both sides to accountability, it prevents leaders from getting away with stuff. Letting Andrew Cuomo get away with stuff doesn't help. And what we need, all of us need, is true transparency from our leaders. We're hitting a point where the truly transparent political leaders are going to be the ones in the next 5-10 years we are going to pick and elevate, because we're going to believe they're the ones who are truly transparent and being honest about their mistakes. They're going to lie sometimes, but it's those leaders that we are going to actually start elevating, because we live in an age where we want more transparent. We want to make our own decisions. That's the battle we're having. Let me make my choices versus you make them for me. Tell me the truth versus telling me you're going to only tell me what you think I need to know. Let us decide. That's the job both of the media and our political leaders. And while most powerful political leaders may lie, the thing about Newsom, Cuomo, and Trump is they all were leaders in different ways and different types, but they all share something in common. And what we need from all of them is a transparency that none of them gave us. Newsom, Cuomo, Trump, zero transparency. And that hurts all of us. I'm Rob Nelson. Thanks for watching.